From Toronto, this is JWeekly Canada, starring Ieden and Susan Minuk. Tonight, author Brian Prousky, Jewish film expert Stuart. And now, from Studio 18, here is Ieden.
Yeah.
Do you know why I have you back on Canada's only weekly Jewish TV show?
Because I made a sharp right turn somewhere along in the course of my life somewhere. I think that might be the reason.
It's because of your sordid past that needs to be carefully analyzed before our vast viewing audience. No, it's because you've retired.
Yes.
You've since retired, and you've done something that very few people do. Some people retire and they write a book.
Yes.
They write a book.
Yes.
But you did something amazing, extraordinary. You retired and wrote 4 books, but not really wrote them.
Yes.
You published them because in actuality, you've been writing them your entire life. Tell us all about it.
Yes, that is true. For about 30 years, I have been writing in secret. It's kind of been my secret profession. And in my 20s, I always imagined I would be a writer. And now in my 60s, I'm living the life I imagined for myself in my 20s. And when I did retire, that I revealed that secret and found a publisher. And it's not 4 books. It's there are 6 books that are published right now.
6 books. I saw online 4 books.
Yeah.
But you've released
what
all 6?
What happened to the other 2?
Yeah, that's the next episode. But you've released them all 6?
So all 6, yes. The publisher published all 6 and signed me to another one, which should be out in early 2024.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And so I'm writing full time now.
My question to you is, how does somebody sit with all of this material, all of this content for 40 years? It must have been eating away at you. You weren't at night. You weren't dreaming. Publish it. Publish it. Publish it.
Well, no, it was eating away at me. Absolutely, and I was looking forward to retiring to writing full time. I was, in my late 20s, early 30s, maybe early 30s. And I realized that I always thought of myself as a writer, but I'd written nothing, which was a sort of stark realization. And I wrote a novel, and it was horrible. I mean, it was really horrible. And I destroyed it.
Yeah.
And I wrote 1 and 2 novels and 3 novels. Then I wrote an experimental novel, a 4th one. Then I wrote a book of short stories. Then I wrote a book of collected poetry. And so I thought, you know what? And my brother, who has also published a number of books, but in the field of, he's a naturopath in his field. He called me like a post-production failure. He said, you're writing all this, but you're not publishing it. And I just thought, I'll just keep writing. When I retire, that'll be the time when and I'm pretty happy with the sort of obsessiveness of writing all night, weekends, vacations, anytime I had a spare second. And it's kind of yielded these 6 books.
It's like these hidden gems that you never would have predicted in your life.
Right.
Really.
Yes.
But you had it inside of you.
Yes.
And I always tell aspiring artists of any field, of any genre, to stick it out. Stick to your guns.
That's right.
Believe in yourself, even with the resistance and the rejection. Because every good artist, every artist of note experienced horrendous rejection. Right? And if you don't have that undying belief, you're just not going to do it. But you still need a day job sometimes, right?
That's right.
And in your case, you did have an amazing day job as director of a very, very important Jewish agency in Toronto.
Right.
So that helped a lot. What would you have done? This is very important to consider.
Yeah.
Because you are an artist at heart. What would you have done without that job? And what do you say to aspiring writers out there who don't have the job, don't have a career to fall back on, and all they have is their passion, day and night, writing, expressing themselves, telling stories from the deep parts of their heart? What do you tell them?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm not going to really answer that question, or I'm not going to answer the question the way I think you think I'm going to answer the question, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'll answer.
And you're not going to.
But I'll answer it this way.
Yeah.
I will say this: that I wish. It's my biggest regret. I wish that I was willing to die for it in my 20s.
How would your life be different? Do you imagine?
Yeah.
If you were, in fact, willing to die for your brilliance, for your art form, seriously, in your 20s. Do you ever think about that? How might your life be different?
Yeah, I believe I would have.
We have 2 minutes. And
we have 2 minutes, that's it.
To answer that question, do you ever consider that, how your life might be different?
You know, it's really difficult. It's difficult to say.
Well, let's brainstorm together. Let's brainstorm together. I'm here with you. I'm not against you. I'm here to brainstorm with you. Here's how I would imagine your life being different.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have the finances to back you up. You might not even have kids. That's a reality. Yeah. You might not even have kids. You might be not married. You might be a bachelor. And you might be out there swinging from the chandeliers on Queen Street West and having a great time.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to believe I could have had all of it, you know, with the writing. I'd like to believe that there'd be twice as many novels or, you know, out right now, and that I'd be living a novelist's life my entire life. I like to believe that, but that's a fantasy. It wasn't me. It wasn't part of my DNA. And you know what?
Let's continue.
And in the end, I got to have both. So I suppose that's in that way, it's a gift.
Unconventional though this is, for an interviewer to look at you and say this to you.
Yeah.
But you like the peculiarities of an original talk show host, yes?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's say you are somebody who's made a name for yourself in your early 20s. Your career keeps ascending. You are now a rock star writer, Jewish rock star writer, huge following, international following. You're still based in Toronto. And how does your life look? What is the day in the life of a rock star writer, Brian Prousky? Let's just imagine it together. What do you think it'd be like?
It's just absolute debauchery. And
Butler? No, seriously.
And I wake up at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Five nannies, 2 butlers. What do you have for breakfast? No, seriously.
I'm practically Mick Jagger.
What do you have for breakfast? What do you have for breakfast? Money's no object. What do you have for breakfast?
What do I have for breakfast?
Rock star Brian Prousky. What do you have?
I guess a gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic. Then you go and you're wearing like an ascot and a smoking jacket. You move into your study around 3 o'clock. You get up, roll out of bed.
That's right.
Hang over like till tomorrow.
That's
and
right.
you just go in there. You start writing.
That's
your 4 nannies come in, start massaging your back,
I don't think
massaging your temples, right? Another gin and, right?
Oh no, I'm absolutely reclusive as well. So I don't think anyone's around.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so when do you start writing? Like late in the day?
Late.
Late in the day?
Late.
And what do
through the night.
And what do you do for recreation and fun?
Nothing.
Okay.
I know this is bizarre.
What's that?
This whole thing's bizarre.
Yeah, but seriously, you're on a Jewish talk show. Did you expect it to be any less bizarre?
No.
And what's exactly so bizarre about this experience? Be honest.
Well, I think we're talking about a fictionalized account of my life.
It's an interview. You don't know where the interview's going to go. And in fact, it's a conversation. You don't know where the conversation's going to go.
That's true.
Really.
I think what's fascinating is that our sort of fanciful conversation about things past that never were things past. This conversation we're having. Is largely about people who, you know, are maybe ill-fitting into whatever life they've chosen for themselves. They might might be a bit distant from it, or outcast, or maybe they feel intrinsically, internally, they don't fit in. And I have to say that every character I've ever written is exactly that way. They kind of do not. They're uncomfortable in their skin, in their surroundings. They never quite fit in to whatever inn is.
And you say
in their
most
lives.
of your characters.
Every one of them probably.
echo
You are watching
that-
JWeekly
that
Canada.
that sentiment,
We'll be right
yes.
back.
So I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, right now we
Yes.
know that there's artists out there that are involved in this, enmeshed in this horrible conflict, this
Right.
war, right? We know that because it's always a battle between necessity, right?
Yeah.
The necessities of life, and then our desires, right? Our dreams. So, you know, what do we say to those people who are not quite sure how to win this battle? What do we say to them?
We say follow your heart. Even if you can only follow your heart in the, on the fringes of your days and your time, just do that. Don't lose all of your heart. If there's an inch of it left,
Preserve it.
preserve it, keep it alive. I think Prousky wrote a really good poem about that, about having 1 inch of his heart left, but that spark was enough to set off a forest fire. I think he wrote something like that. So I think that's the case.
Yeah, isn't that the tough part about life? Is to somehow to survive, to pay the bills, to see a world that is often frayed and in shambles, eroding quicker than we can testify to, and to still preserve the dream, the deepest dreams in our heart, right?
That's right.
The
Yes.
desires of our heart.
Absolutely.
And that's the battle, right?
Yeah.
And you did that in a very significant way. We're so proud of you here on Canadian
Hey,
Jewish
thank you.
television. You know, we always have fun, and I like to tease you, but this is an incredible accomplishment.
And so I think we're all in a process of redemption. I also want to give you a gift.
Thank you.
Along with those 2 books.
Thank you
I'm
so
really
much.
happy for
Thank
you
you
to
so
please pass
much.
them on.
Much
if you
appreciated,
don't
man.
read them. But I also, this is a book of poetry as
Body
well.
of Winter.
Yeah, and
We have to. I'm getting the
the
wrap-up sign here. So
that's also.
thank you so much, Brian. And
Yep.
you know, I want to say, by no surprise, these books have an incredible psychological and emotional depth, an amazing insight into the human condition in all of its varied elements. You have, even at 60 years old, a very, very bright future ahead of you. Thank you so much for being on Canadian Jewish Television. It's always great to see you.
Thank you so much
Take
for
care.
having me.
Take care. We'll be right back. You're watching Canadian Jewish TV.
When JWeekly Canada returns, Susan Minuk sits down with film maven Stuart Hands. Welcome back to JWeekly Canada.
Hello, Stuart.
Hello.
Stuart Hands, nice to have you from the Toronto Jewish Film Festival. And Stuart, I want to talk to you about your passion for film. Where did it come from?
Well, I guess it was just spending as a kid a lot of time in front of the TV, you know. So I guess that's it. And then eventually I went to do my my degree in film and then film studies. And eventually, when I was doing my master's, I gravitated to the topic of ethnicity, representation of ethnicity and gender in film, and that eventually found my way towards the topic of Jewish representation in film. And then, just by circumstance, a friend of mine was working. At this festival, and I sort of got involved through him, and slowly ended up where I was here. So I've been with the festival for around 17 years total.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about the humble beginnings of the Toronto Jewish Film Festival and how it's just exploded over the last few decades.
Yes.
How is that?
So this festival is going into its 31st year. It started in one cinema, and I think it was between 5 to 10 screenings in its first year. I have to check with the exact number. It started
Small, fair to say small.
Small.
Right.
The first year was at the Bloor Cinema, which is now the Hot Docs Ted Rogers Cinema, and Helen Zuckerman, who was the co-founder and is still the artistic director after many years. And right now, I mean, obviously with COVID, it's sort of moved, between. In terms of different sizes, but this year we're at 77 films and we're in around 5 venues.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And I think I saw 77 films from 20 countries.
Yes.
Yeah, that's incredible. So maybe you want to talk about, I know that you opened the film festival with The Man in the Basement.
Yes.
Right, so that's a psychological thriller with a strong influence on anti-Semitism.
Yes.
So tell me about that film and why you opened up the festival with that.
Well, obviously it's very timely. It's a very sort of Hitchcockian thriller, and that's sort of a genre film on one level. And then on another level, it's about a man who rents a basement from a child of survivors in Paris, and then it isn't until the deed is signed that he realizes that this person is a Holocaust denier. And it's about the relationship and trying to, revoke the deed that this person has in this basement, and how this Holocaust denier also tries to influence the child of the person who rents him the basement. But it works on one level as just a thriller, and then
the story is dark.
Yes, and then on another level with very timely themes.
JWeekly Canada will be right back. Welcome back to JWeekly Canada.
So with all these films at this year's festival, let's talk, maybe highlight a few that stand out to you.
Yes. Well, for one thing, we did a tribute to a British filmmaker named Paul Morrison. And there aren't many films that are released out of England telling about the British Jewish experience. So we did a tribute to this filmmaker, and we showed a love story he did in 1999 called Solomon and Gaynor, which is in Yiddish and Welsh. It's a Welsh love story. And then we're doing a tribute to Saul Rubinek, and we're playing this amazing Yiddish film he did that was shot in the Ukraine called Shtetl.
Oh, wow.
And it's all in one shot, and they recreated Shtetl, and it's about Shtetl life just on the eve of the Nazi invasion.
So what would you say the key factors are in a grassroots festival evolving into a sought-after showcase of international films?
So what kind of ingredient do you mean?
Well, just the factors of how it's grown, like what was needed.
Oh, it's hard to say. Well, I mean, it's hard for me to say. I came on in the past 17 years ago, and even at that point, it had a strong reputation in the international community of filmmakers, and so people knew a lot of who our festival was, and I think it has an irreverent tone, which is established largely by its co-founder, Helen Zuckerman, who's also the artistic director. The fact that we're unaffiliated, so we're not part of or housed by JCC and so it allows a sort of freedom in programming, and Helen has been very much that's sort of, she set up this world of creating the programming process is very independent of issues of people who finance and all these larger things that in a not ideal situation could influence the programming process, but she's really protected that over the years, and I think that's something that makes it particularly special. And we're also, over the years, at least I can speak for my time there, always trying to maintain a diverse program as possible, you know, in terms of countries represented, in terms of themes represented, in terms of the types of stories that we haven't heard about, and trying to take some risks in terms of the type of programming that we do. And I think that tone has really, that risk taking has still been maintained even now, 31 years later, and after several years of COVID.
So with thousands of entries from all over the world,
Yes.
what surprises you about the diversity and growth of the Jewish films?
The
Quality, rather, not so much the growth, the quality.
Well,
the
first of all,
diversity and quality.
well, we're always amazed that many films are made per year. How many
Okay.
Jewish content films are made per year, which is great. And then there's also stories from countries that we didn't know and that we don't often hear from. I mean, the biggest producers of Jewish content films are, I guess that we would say, Israel, the U.S., and France. Those are where are the biggest producers of Jewish content films. But then when there's films that don't come from a country that you would expect, and what I lately have found out that I've really enjoyed is the Canadian stuff that comes out, and more there's wonderful Canadian programming that comes out.
Absolutely. So to young Jewish filmmakers out there who have a talent and they are watching and they want to submit their reel, right?
Yes.
So how do you become an official selection for the Toronto Jewish Film Festival?
Well, I encourage people to obviously go to our website and submit and let us know about what you're working on, and just to really think about all sorts of different stories and all sorts of interesting the diverse ways that the Jewish experience can manifest itself, and to go for these really unexpected stories. But I encourage them to reach out to us.
And I'm looking forward to the festival, and by the time the viewers see this, the festival will be over. Where can they see these films?
Well, we have a streaming platform online where we
Okay.
have sort of 200 films from our archive that are available to watch
So
for
website
free.
is
tjff.com.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Canadian Jewish Television. My name is Susan Minuk.
Tremendous.
JWeekly Canada will be right back. JWeekly Canada is brought to you by Comfy Move. For your next move, please go to comfymove.ca. Key West Video. For your next commercial or corporate video, please go to keywestvideo.com. Melanie Lynn. For stylish women's clothing, please visit melanielynn.com. Barry's Office Furniture. For the most affordable office furniture, please visit barrysofficefurniture.com.